We had another good practice. I think today was 7, and guys are enthusiastic. Today was really good offensively, but the effort on both sides of the ball, the learning has been really good. So as a coach and a coaching staff, we're really happy with where our players are at this time. Same guys are making plays that I mentioned a week ago. Mason's doing well, and Seals in Washington, Veach, Frazier's doing a good job at the Cowboy back. I like how Larry Williams is improving in the offensive line. The other guys are holding steady with their improvement. Lampkin's making plays. Obviously Stearns is still making some plays. Mote is showing up some. So the guys that we would expect to make plays are doing a really good job. We just got to push forward. We will go right into a scrimmage setting on Friday, let the guys play a little bit, and then let them have the weekend off.
You mentioned Washington a lot. Do you remember when you were recruiting him? Because he was fairly unsung. Is it fair to say he's far exceeded what the expectations may have been for him?
I'm not sure anybody really knew, just based on being from such a small community, but very athletic, as we talked about, multi-sport player. I was really excited when I went and watched him play a basketball game and followed a missed shot and tried to grab it with one hand and dunk it, and missed the dunk, but was, at least his elbow was above the rim. So we were excited about that, but he spoke to our team today at the end, and we had mentioned to the team the reason why is because of his lead by example effort that he puts out every day, and he's certainly earned a lot of respect from the players, and I would agree that has exceeded expectations in what the recruiting service's opinion of him was at that time.
You're less than a month away from probably seeing Emmanuel Ogbah become another first-round draft pick out of this program. Plus, Jimmy Bean got worked out. You had that on your Twitter from the Lions. Have you inventoried in watching practice and said, okay, that guy? Because you need some playmakers to make up for a lot of plays those two made.
Sure. A first-round pick, and I think Bean will end up getting drafted late. And so we need Cole, and we need Jarrell, and we need Trey, and some of those guys to make plays for us out there. They're certainly not going to look the same in the first half of the season. They don't have the experience that those guys had, but we need them to start to play at a higher level once we get into conference play, and hopefully they can continue to improve as we get through the latter part of the season.
Mike, if this was the first question, I got here late, I'm sorry. But kind of at the midway mark of the spring calendar now, are you beyond in some areas, like the offensive line and others? Are you at or beyond where you hoped you would be at the midway mark?
I think we're certainly as far as where we thought we would be. I mentioned a few names of guys that I thought that had performed well up to this time. I think we've improved in running the football through 7 practices. We won't know until we get into deep in September and maybe the middle of October and kind of find out where we're at. But I think we've improved in certain areas, bringing along some young players in a number of areas where we have a number of returning starters, but we don't have as much depth in the top 40 players as what we would have had last year. So it's a little unique, but our system has always worked, and we have to develop some young guys to help us as we get into October and November.
So if you've always said that it's usually typically an offensive lineman doesn't really get into the conversation until his 3rd year. So it's like a guy like Marcus Keys, maybe has he been a pleasant surprise for you?
He's doing very well. He's 305 or 10 pounds and can roll his hips, and he's got some toughness to him. He's just lacking experience, and the 3rd year comes from being out there and gaining valuable experience. But we have a number of guys, including Marcus, that we're going to try to force feed and see if we can get more production out of them at an earlier stage in their career.
Marcel April was a guy who made a big leap last year. Just what have you seen from out of the spring, and what do you project him as this year? Is he continuing to rise in your mind?
He's done very well. He needs to make plays, and if they're going to drop a safety down and play run, which we haven't seen a lot of because we have not run the ball effective enough, then he's a player. Him and Seals in Washington are guys that we have to get the ball to in essentially man coverage.
What have you seen out of Jalen McCleskey as possibly a guy who might replace David in the slot?
Jalen's going to make some plays. He'll be inside and do a number of things with him, get the ball to him in the flat, run reverses, let him run down the field, and try to run by the safeties. So he's coming along.
You mentioned you put him in a scrimmage situation Friday. Is there an emphasis, or is it going to be play it, lay it? Well, what do you know?
We'll put the ball down, let him play.
Okay.
Try to get about 125, 150 plays.
How much of that do you really want to see maybe younger guys?
There'll be a certain number of quality reps that we'll try and get accomplished with our veteran guys, and then we'll take them out of the game and let some of the younger guys compete.
This is the first time pretty much for everyone on the offensive line to have the same coach in back-to-back springs. How has that helped them not having to make that transition as they've had, previous three springs?
It certainly helps them in a learning environment, and I noticed, it's funny you mentioned that, I noticed it today, that there's not as many adjustments going on based on the coaches know each other. And we always work through those in the latter part of spring and the first 2 weeks of August, but it's certainly nice to not have to go through those trials and the adjustments we have to make with a new coach.
You got new personnel you got some veteran corners, but you got some new personnel behind those guys. How are the young corners?
Oh, I think they're running around lost, running fast and jumping, but they got a ways to go. It's a key position for us into the development. Last year we didn't have to concern ourselves with the depth of that position, and now we're in a rollover year there where we've got to get a third and fourth guy ready to play.
You've got some veterans at the Cowboy backs. Jarwin, probably the best receiver. Beach, maybe the best blocker, but they're seniors. Are you starting to see some of the other guys at that position start to get it?
Frazier is developing. Keenan Brown is playing inside for us some. They're coming along. We'll certainly lean heavily on those two veterans through September, and then that's one of those positions we need to develop a third guy, and hopefully we can do that by October.
You spent some time last night, I guess, at the baseball game with Brad Underwood. What's your impression of that hire or Coach Underwood?
Oh, I think he's off to a great start. He's obviously very busy at this time and transition, and I would guess meetings with current players and pursuing former players. And heck, in basketball, I guess you have to re-recruit your guys every year. And just the adjustment of a new job and selling a house and family, all those things I think he's going through now. But his attitude's great, and I know he's very excited to be in Stillwater.
But was it